Beneath 12,500 feet of Atlantic darkness lie the Titanic's final secrets, human stories, scientific mysteries, and a wreck that is slowly vanishing. This is the story of what was lost, what was saved, and what remains. The world remembers the night the unsinkable ship went down. A catastrophe of ice and hubris in the freezing North Atlantic. But the story didn't end when the screams faded and the last lifeboat was rescued. In many ways, that's where a new chapter began, a story of recovery, remembrance, and a race against time. On April 15, 1912, the RMS Titanic slipped beneath the waves. Of the roughly 2,224 people aboard, over 1,500 souls were lost in the disaster. It was a staggering loss of life that sent shockwaves across the globe. In the immediate aftermath, a grim task began. Cable ships, like the Mackay-Bennett, were dispatched from Halifax, Nova Scotia, into the vast, unforgiving ocean. Their mission, to find and recover the victims. Over several weeks, these crews navigated fields of debris and ice, recovering the bodies of 337 people. It was a harrowing duty, meticulously documented in logbooks. Yet, for every person brought back to shore, hundreds more were lost to the sea, their stories seemingly sinking with the ship itself. They became part of the ocean, their final resting place unknown. But not all was lost. Among the survivors was a tiny infant, just 9 weeks old, Elizabeth Gladys Dean, better known as Millvina. Her family had been sailing in third class, hoping for a new life in America. When the ship struck the iceberg, her father ensured his wife and 2 young children made it into a lifeboat before returning to the ship. He did not survive. Millvina, wrapped in a sack for warmth, was one of the youngest souls saved from the wreck. She grew up with no memory of the event, but became an invaluable, living link to that fateful night. For nearly a century, she carried the legacy of the Titanic, a human anchor to a moment frozen in time. She was the last remaining survivor, passing away in 2009 at the age of 97. In the days and weeks following the sinking, recovery ships brought back not just the victims but also fragments of the ship and the lives aboard it. Floating deck chairs, pieces of carved wood, and other buoyant debris were collected. These were the first artifacts of the Titanic disaster. The bodies recovered were brought to Halifax, where the city mourned. Over 150 victims were laid to rest in 3 of the city's cemeteries. Their graves a permanent, somber reminder of the human cost. This recovery effort raised profound questions that persist today. Who owns the remnants of a tragedy? And is it right to salvage items from what is, for so many, a sacred gravesite? For 73 years, the great ship's final resting place was a mystery. Then, in 1985, a team led by Dr. Robert Ballard discovered the wreck, sitting upright in 2 main sections on the abyssal plain. The world was captivated by the first ghostly images of the grand staircase's void, the telemotor on the bridge, and the ship's giant propellers, half buried in mud. But the discovery also started a clock. Today, the Titanic is in a state of rapid decay. The wreck is being consumed by the ocean it rests in. The primary culprit is a bacteria that feeds on iron, forming delicate, icicle-like structures called rusticles. These colonies of microbes are literally eating the ship's hull. Scientists studying the rate of decay estimate that the iconic bow section and other recognizable structures could collapse and largely disintegrate within the next few decades. Side-by-side comparisons of photos taken since its discovery show a startling decline. The crow's nest has vanished, the promenade deck has collapsed, and entire sections of the hull have buckled under the immense pressure and biological assault. The ship is returning to nature, recognizing the wreck's historical significance and its status as a maritime memorial. The international community has taken steps to protect it. An international agreement, signed by the United States and the United Kingdom, treats the site as a memorial and regulates exploration and salvage. In 2012, the wreck was officially protected under the UNESCO Convention on the Protection of the Underwater Cultural Heritage. Despite these protections, controversy continues. On one side are memorial advocates and descendants of victims. who argue the site is a grave that should be left undisturbed. They believe that recovering artifacts, especially for commercial sale, is desecration. On the other side, some salvagers and historians argue that recovering and preserving artifacts is the only way to save Titanic's legacy from being completely lost to decay. They contend that bringing these objects to museums allows the public to connect with the story in a tangible way, ensuring the memory doesn't fade as the wreck itself does. The debate forces us to ask a difficult question. How do we best honor the dead while preserving their history for the living? As the physical wreck slowly dissolves into the ocean floor, its story becomes more important than ever. The Titanic is more than a shipwreck. It is a memorial to over 1,500 people and a powerful lesson in human ambition and fragility. The urgency now is not just to study the wreck, but to preserve the stories, the records, and the memories of those who are lost. Through films, digital archives, and the careful preservation of its history, we ensure that the Titanic and all the souls connected to it will not be forgotten. The ship may be vanishing, but its legacy must remain unsinkable. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Titanic's final secrets. If you're interested in more source-backed historical stories, please consider subscribing to our channel. Coming up in Part 2, we'll explore the most incredible artifacts ever recovered and the fierce court battles fought over them.